Hi class, welcome to our mini notes / worksheet on adding and subtracting fractions. Before we actually get started with our problems, I do want you to take out a separate sheet of paper and I want you to head it and title it Steps for Adding and Subtracting Fractions. I know that over the course of this week you all have watched several different videos explaining to you how to add and subtract fractions. But just to make sure we're all on the same page for our upcoming assessment, I want everyone to copy these steps so that we can implement them in this worksheet. Now, step 1 is going to be when you see your problem to check to see if the denominators are the same. For those of you who have forgotten, in a fraction where A is over B, A will represent the numerator and B will represent the denominator. If you have two fractions that you're either adding or subtracting, the denominators must be the same. If they are not the same, then you must find the least common multiple of the denominators. And we'll see that when we start working our problems. But for now, just go ahead and jot this down. Next step. Once you have denominators that are the same, go ahead and add or subtract your numerators. The denominator must stay the same, okay, in your final answer. Finally, once you get your answer, if it is an improper fraction, which means the numerator is bigger than the denominator, you will need to change it to a mixed number, okay? But if your numerator is smaller than the denominator, then you're done. All right? With that being said, when you finish writing these notes, I want you to pull them up beside your sheet. And I'm going to do two problems with you now. I'm actually going to start on the adding fraction side. I'm going to start with number 7. Okay? Number 7 is pretty simple because we already see that the denominators are both the same. So in this case, all I have to do is add the numerators since I have an addition symbol here. I already know that my denominator is going to stay 2, so I can go ahead and put the 2 there. 1 plus 1 is 2. And for those of you who know, 2 over 2, or any number over itself, is the same thing as the whole number 1. So the whole number 1 is our final answer. Now, I'm going to skip to number 1. Now, if we look at our steps and we check to see whether the denominators are the same, we can see that they are not. So that means we're going to have to find the least common multiple. Before we do that, for problems where the denominator is not the same, I want you to set your problem up laterally, like this, because we will need to change the denominators to something new once we find the least common multiple. So right now I have 1/6 plus 2/3. Okay, I've already drawn the bars for my new fractions, but before that I'm going to come up here and I'm going to write LCM. Now, the least common multiple, essentially we have to find the least common multiple of 3 and 6. That means we're going to write our 3 times tables and our 6 times tables until we get a multiple that is the least and the same. So, here's how that would look. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Okay? I know that 6 times 1 is 6. So my least common multiple, is going to be what? 6. Okay? These are the two multiples that are in common between 3 and 6. So that means that my new denominator is going to be 6. So I'm going to write my new denominator here. Then I'm going to ask myself a few questions. The first question is, what can I multiply by 6 to get 6? I know that if I multiply times 1, 6 times 1 is 6. So whatever I do in the denominator, I must do in the numerator. So I must multiply this top 1 times 1, which will end me with 1/6. Down here, I ask the same question. What must I multiply 3 by to get 6. If I multiply 3 times 2, my answer will be 6. So whatever I do in the denominator, I must do in the numerator. So I must multiply this top 2 times 2, and that's going to give me 4. Now my new problem is 1/6 plus 4/6. And if I add 1/6 plus 4/6, my final answer is going to be 5/6. Okay? And I will probably write that a little clearer over here. Alright? Make sure that when you have your answer, that you circle your answer and that you go ahead and move forward. Okay? Now, let's flip to the back. I'm going to do 2 problems with subtracting fractions. The first problem that I am going to do on the subtracting fractions side is going to be problem 5. Okay? So problem 5, I'm going to use my step 1, check to see whether the denominators are the same. They are the same, so that means I can go ahead and subtract my numerators. That means that 5 minus 3 is going to give me 2 over 11. This can't be simplified any further, so this is the final answer. Okay? And I'm going to make sure that I circle my final answer. The next problem that I'm going to do with you is number 9. Now, I already see that number 9, the denominators are not the same. So I'm going to set my problem up laterally because I know that I'm going to have to change my denominators. Okay? Let me go ahead and draw my bar out to the side for my new fractions. And I know I need to come up in the corner and try to find the least common multiple for 2 and 8. Some of you may have caught on to the pattern by now, but 8 times 1 equals 8. And I know that if I do my 2 times tables, 2 times 1 equals 2, 2 times 2 equals 4, 2 times 3 equals 6, and 2 times 4 equals 8. So the first thing that they both have in common is 8. So that means 8 is going to be my new denominator for both fractions. What do I have to multiply 8 by to get 8? I multiply 8 times 1. Whatever I do in the denominator, I must do up top. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 4 is 8. So 1 times 4 is 4. My new problem is 4 over 8 minus 1 over 8, which is going to give me 3 over 8 as my final answer. Okay? Hopefully this helped. After you watch this video, go ahead and complete the rest of the problems. Make sure that you circle your answers, turn in your work when you are done, and complete the rest of your task sheet. Have a great day.